Alright, we're on 2300. Lost like 400 SR today. Feels bad.
Are you going to talk to stream? Oh, and this is not Sham. I got to turn guest off. Ooh, interesting turret position.
My off meta play.
This is your off meta play. Ooh, you are going to talk to us.
Actually, let's check to see if my facts are right. No, win percentage, you goof.
Cool. So 66% on Torb.
66%, let's go. This is Zarya weapon accuracy? That's hilarious.
I like you, Mr. Torb man. And this is actually... So these are actually like pretty good spots for you to be in. You don't want to stay here forever, but transitioning... And if you were going to do this, one of the things that you could do is have set up like an early turret for ult charge in the King's Row Theater there. So you always... Like if you're going for a turret for ult charge, you want it to be in a place where it will shoot them in the back until they realize it's there. So kind of like places around a corner that can actually have line of sight of the choke point from behind. And then if you get that that turret placed and then they destroy it, then you can place a new turret kind of on the high ground where you're at. Now, the place that you're at right now wouldn't be the greatest spot for a turret because you never want people to be able to see your turret from the choke point so that they can destroy it before they engage. But being on the high ground and placing your turret in like windows and then dropping down to engage. So if it gets destroyed in the middle of a fight, you just drop a turret wherever just to try and get some value and then keep fighting. That's a good way to play. It's a good way to play. Okay, and yeah, gold choke defense holding the actual choke instead of the statue or hotel. That's unfortunate, but hey. Do they have Rhinorissa? It does look like they do have double shields.
What?
So if you are doing like a Rhinorissa, especially if you're doing Rhinorissa Torb, you normally are going to be putting things like your Orisa and your Torbjorn together. So the alternative to the way you're doing it right now is that you could put your turret on the point by the actual like the red phone booth, and then have the Orisa just stick to it, so that no matter where they come from, unless they come from the high ground and then drop on the Orisa from above, they're going to be eating a shit ton of spam in order to go fight on the point.
What? We should not be holding all the way up there.
Well, our gold player recognizes that we should not be holding all the way up there, so that's good at least. Now, he drops off the high ground without placing his turret. I like this early spam, trying to contribute to make sure that they're losing the shield war as much as they can. However, oh, that's just unfortunate.
And our main tank just decided to drop his shield.
Oh no, that was not your main tank's fault, okay? It was very much not your main tank's fault. This is kind of like one of the things where this is like the gold or the plat thing where you just stand in the open because you're not used to getting punished for standing in the open. But you got to remember, it is actually kind of amazing to me. Wizard, I don't know how many times I've mentioned this clip, but Wizard, the coach for New York Excelsior, told a little anecdote on one of his videos where he had an assistant, a guy who helps him with data collection about stats. He had asked him to look into the cover usage of OWL players, and then the data assistant didn't think that there was going to be much difference between cover usage amongst players. But then after he had kind of like collected the data, he noticed that even Rouge Hong amongst OWL players used cover differently. And then this player, when Wizard was trying to like convince him about the benefits of cover or whatnot, when this player went into competitive and decided to use cover, always stick to walls, never be in the open. So just a little concept of sticking closer to walls instead of ever being completely in the open. Supposedly, this assistant of Wizards gained like 1,000 SR. And I was like, haha, what a stupid anecdote. But then I see clips like this, where you're standing in the open, especially against a Hanzo or anything like that, and trusting your main tank here. So your main tank serves other purposes than allow you to stand in the middle of Narnia and just protect you from one-shots here. Is it unfortunate that you got killed like that? Yes, but if this was a higher rank, you like Diamond, Masters, or Grandmaster, if you had died to this arrow, It's because you were out of position 100%. Is this position normally punished in gold? No. But when you are punished for this position in gold, it's still your fault. Yes, just because the Hanzo hit a really great shot, it's still your fault, no matter how great of a shot it was, because you basically allowed him to not only take that shot, but probably all of the shots before that missed. So this is kind of like one of the bigger things, especially in gold and whatnot, and lower, is that people just don't respect cover at all. So, yeah. It was 2,600 to 3,800 or something like that. Yeah, I think that was the clip itself. So again, what's the problem with this turret, chat? What's the problem with this turret placement? Can you pause stream? I need to be. Go nuts. Line of sight. Yes, it's got a line of sight of basically where the attackers are going to be coming from. So that's like the number one rule you don't want, because you don't want the turret to be destroyed before an engagement. That's like one of the main things you don't want to have happen, and you don't have a shield. Like the only time that you really want a turret to have a ton of sight lines is when you have an Orisa basically babysitting it, which in this case you don't have. So this is a poor turret because the attackers are going to have LOS on it.
There we go.
Good, you lost the Orisa though, and you've gained a Roadhog, so that's good.
Playing Torbjorn. I'm sure people would prefer anything but Torb.
Are you not in group chat? I'm not sure if you're narrating to us, which is nice, but I'm not sure if you're in group chat or not.
Our Reinhardt just died.
Yeah, so the other thing is that like your turret was back and it hasn't been destroyed, but your Reinhardt was playing outside of LOS of your turret in the first place. So your turret is in a risky spot in that it's going to get destroyed as soon as this payload really turns the corner. You know, the fire strike hit it. You can see that they're already starting to focus it, but it was so far back. The only reason it's lived so far is because it just wasn't getting value and wasn't basically worth it to the enemy team to take down.
That was close.
So this is going to be this isn't a terrible turret spot.
Time to upgrade it.
Because it will start hitting people as they're trying to turn this corner. And so far it looks like your actual gun usage itself is more or less in the general direction of your opponent instead of like on specific targets or anything like that.
I don't think I need a core here. I might need to though.
Should definitely give yourself...
Yeah, I will do it.
Okay. That D.Va is going to get broken, probably. Oh, he is getting pocketed, though.
Oh my god, this Ryan's trying to solo, like, tank for my turret.
That D.Va survived. Amazing.
My cores are just not doing enough work.
Well, your core there, in that position, they actually had a D.Va who they pocketed enough. I thought because she had no defense matrix, and then she dove your turret. I thought between the turret's damage and your shotgun, you'd be enough to actually, like, demech the D.Va. But she got pocketed really well and was able to actually keep herself up to take down your turret. So, just coring, like, down a few, you know, so many people, your turret only has 800 health. It's not indestructible by any means here.
I thought I already placed that.
I do like putting the level 1 turrets there in the middle of combat just to get some value, as well as like you got the Reinhardt to basically focus on the turret. Oh, you got saved by Zarya there.
Oh god, this just hurts.
So yeah, the two kind of the two things that I'm seeing, like you got snowballed in third, you never really had a chance to set up.
Yeah.
You could probably blame that on you, but
Sacco here. What the fuck?
the thing with that
Like-
is that like anytime you get steamrolled or anything like that, it happens. But the two biggest issues that I'm seeing, the first one is that you have like no target focus at all. So you're shooting in the general direction of the enemy, But you know, even after the fight has engaged, sometimes you're still shooting at the Reinhardt shield instead of trying to actually like engage specific targets or trying to take out specific targets. It's kind of like there is this mass of red people. Let me just click in their general direction to do damage, and you have no you're not struggling to put out damage. You are gold damage on your team. At least I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're gold damage on your team. You're 3 point. So you're just under 10k damage per 10, which is actually really good. Like Torb, you're certainly not slacking in the damage department. Like you're doing a decent amount of damage. This is a decent number for damage. And you're gold. The problem is this 2 elims. So you're doing basically 1,700 damage for every 1 elim that you do. And remember that this number no longer includes actual shield damage here. So, like, you're putting out a shit ton of damage here, especially onto shields, but 1,700 damage onto actual characters and only 2 elims means that there's no focus or that it's going onto the wrong targets. So, whether you, like, I'm not saying that you should go flank Torbjorn, but you should be able to focus targets with your team and do more than just left click or right click in the general direction of the red blob of people who are currently mauling you.
We can do it together.
Also, you have the propensity to blame your
Yeah, to try
tanks
and maintain,
when
essentially.
take agency of your own mistakes. You're going to take credit for your own victories, so you're going to have to take the blame for your own failures. You can't pick and choose like that.
Commences in 30 seconds.
The government here is such a damage increase.
This guy's just gonna be pissed at no matter what I pick.
The government here has such a medieval view towards ominous.
5, 4, 3.
He's not in team chat.
I like this way. That's a nice way.
If you're off meta, you need to be in team chat. Because people are not used to playing with you, and not only do people not used to actually playing with off-meta heroes,
Yeah,
but they
that's
don't know
not-
your specific playstyle with that off-meta hero. So it's even more important as an off-meta player that you are in team chat, so you can let your team know how you intend to play. Nice little wall. You're gonna get mauled to death though here, aren't you? It can be pretty difficult to play Mei against shields and bubbles who can cleanse your freeze.
Yeah, that sucked. I don't think they're gonna.
And like I like that
push
you're doing
forward
I do like
through
that you're
the
trying to isolate targets and then freeze them, but I think you focus a little bit too much on it and should have more. As I say that, you start to do it more, but right clicks are actually pretty decent, right? They get 150 damage onto targets if you can land a headshot within your fall off range. Yeah, great. Freeze him. That's great. But the the real magic of characters like Mei or whatnot is going to still be, it's not the freeze. The thing that makes you effective is being able to do damage with the right click, and it's one of the most challenging. So you're also not used to the freeze in the fact that what you can do with the freeze itself. Let me see if I can't actually demonstrate this. I haven't played Mei in a while, so this might be challenging for me to actually demonstrate. But you also are not familiar with the timing of the freeze, and it's pretty obvious. Okay, so if we're Mei, first of all, right, it's a projectile cloud, just like Moira's little piss beam. So if you're closer to a target, it's going to freeze. Oh, I've got that really high ping. Give me a second. Okay, so if you're really close to a target, when it freezes, you're going to be like right there. So I misjudged it just a little bit here. But if you're farther away, the beam still has to like actually take a time to travel to the opponent. So if you time it right, and I actually did it there. Look at me, I actually did it on my first try. If you do it right, you can actually start charging your right click before the target is frozen, because the last little like clouds of ice will freeze a target. And the thing is that if you're doing it right, you should actually be able to get 2 right clicks in. So, oh, I missed by 1. But you should be able to get 2 right clicks in before they become unfrozen. Ah, I missed it by 1 tick again. Let's just kill you. I'm trying to make it too precise. Give me a second. I haven't played Mei in a while. So, yeah. So, I shot the first headshot. One more attempt at this. We did it! We did it there! So you can see, if you're not standing like point blank on freezing somebody and you're used to the actual timing of it, you saw how I put 2 right clicks into the wall before he was unfrozen? So it's really important for you to, and this should become just something that you should just instinctually know to like the millisecond how long it will actually take to freeze a bot. And I think this is a pretty important skill for Mei players to have, is especially freezing tanks. Being able to get that second headshot in is really, really very useful. Because then your right click damage is 150. So instead of doing like 150 guaranteed, you're doing 300. So yeah, the double headshot. I fucked it up. I keep missing by like 1 tick of freeze. It's that. Fuck, man. Freeze. Boom. So yeah, I keep missing by like 1 tick of freeze. There we go. That's the timing of it. So you can see that I'm getting 2 right clicks in while the training bot is actually frozen. So definitely that's like one tact. And it's really hard to do at close range, right? Because the beam doesn't travel. So you have to be a little bit of a distance away in order to get the double right click to actually function. Defran is playing Mei right now, yes. Defran is not really a guy who cares about cancels and combos, though. He just wins off of raw aim. It's disgusting. Huh.
So, we're close to Blizzard.
So, this is the part where I expect, like, you're going against a Zarya here. So the Zarya has used her projected. We haven't seen her personal.
So,
Still haven't seen the personal or anything like this. There's the personal. Okay, so I could, like, the personal was used on the Zarya here. But in this case right here, what do you think the chances are of you actually being able to freeze Zarya? And if you do successfully freeze Zarya, what are the chances of you being able to actually kill her? Because her bubble's probably got, what, 6 seconds left on cooldown? So she's being pocketed. If you stand still to try and line up the headshot, the hands is going to fuck you up real good. I just don't really see the chance of you pulling off a freeze here of happening. And you're like, please stop, Zarya. Please stop moving. And then you're like, you fuck off here. So you have to be confident in your right click and your ability to actually hit your right clicks so that you can actually duel people outside of freezing them. And like the big difference between low tier and high tier Meis is that low tier Meis will always try and kind of like go for the freeze so that they can get the easy one shot, kind of like isolate, freeze, kill sort of thing. And high tier Meis are basically like McCree's. They're like pachoo, pachoo, pachoo across the map, landing headshots with these icicles. So recognize the situations in which it's basically impossible for you to get a freeze, or put a different way, if you don't actually need the freeze to kill somebody and you could just land the right click, you know, why not just land the right click? Unless they're like Tracer, in which there's, you know, she's really hard to kill and whatnot, and you need to freeze her to force cooldowns out and whatnot and stuff like that. Against a lot of targets that are immobile, and especially Zarya, decently sized head hitbox, you know, not any sort of high mobility, predictable movements. You know, those are sort of targets that you should have no issue putting right clicks into. So definitely want to be more comfortable in using your right click as if you were just a McCree. So your freezes can be certainly very useful, but you need to be able to actually function as an actual damage dealer at the mid-range with your right click. The Zarya cleanses. Meh. See? Nice right click. Nice headshot onto that Zarya. Nice little wall to escape. Great. I love the wall into Blizzard. That was a really well executed Blizzard. That was really. Like, it's unfortunate that you got counter grab Dragon. It was a good Blizzard. It was. You were right. You walled them off so they couldn't retreat and then drop the Blizzard. That was actually pretty well executed. I like that. The only thing that really could have made that better is if you had actually communicated it to your team, which would have required you to be in team chat. But I understand that your P key is broken and you can't do that. You're also, your Mei walls themselves are taking too long for you to actually put in place. Those need to be a lot more instinctual. Kind of just in the same way that it just needs to be faster. And you can jump a little bit to have your Mei wall be put in the correct place. But anytime where you're doing like this secondary ability, you don't want to have to like switch to that ability and then aim it and then activate it and go back. Like the time lag between you actually selecting your wall and then putting it in location is just too slow. So it's very obvious to me that you have a generic understanding of how to play Mei, but you haven't put legitimately any practice into it at all. So you can activate your Mei wall really quickly. Alright, so you can activate it pretty quickly like that. You don't have to really aim it or anything like that. In the same way that a lot of this is a very similar mistake with Moira's, where if a Moira is like right-clicking or something, then wants to launch the damage orb, they'll right-click and then, they'll E and then drop their damage orb like this. But like it's just so slow if you have to select the orb you want and then place the orb you want perfectly. One of the tricks for Moira that a lot of people just for some reason don't know is that if you are holding right-click and want to launch a damage orb, if you just tap E, the orb will fire automatically. You don't have to stop right-clicking, select E, and then right-click in order to fire the orb. You don't need to do that. You can just hold the orb button, and it'll launch. Same thing, if you're healing something and you just tap E, healing orb comes out, and you never have to lift your mouse button off of Moira. So this is like just, they're little things, but the loss of efficiency from you taking so long to select and aim an ability really hurts you in critical moments, right? So right click, I'm holding right click, E, my orb went out, and I'm still right clicking. So a lot of people, yeah, most, like 90% of you are probably going like, yeah, I knew that, but a lot of Moira players don't know that, and it frustrates me to no end. So same thing with Mei. Like, you can either place your cursor as well, but you can also get a little bit of more accuracy by jumping. So you know how little mouse movements, here it makes the wall's position a lot more different, or a lot different, is that jumping itself can actually make you, if you're not comfortable in doing that, you know, either start on a little elevated area, or you can jump to place it in the perfect place for you, just because it'll give you more of a discrete placement. But yeah, so just get used to walling people off really quickly. So let's just, you know, practice on a bot. Yeah, walled off really quickly. Boop. So it's just something that you can practice in the practice range. It's just getting used to placing your walls very fast. So, hey. Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, that ping is pretty ridiculous. How do you turn the Mei wall? You press E again. If you press E twice, the second time will turn it 90 degrees. And then if you press it a third time, it'll switch it back. There's a lot of tricks with Bastion.
That is the worst time to have to reload. That is the worst time to have to reload.
So anytime we have heroes who have two different abilities, like a primary and a secondary, one of the most challenging thing for low-ranked players to recognize is when they should left-click and when they should right-click. So we have the Mei here. Like, look at this Brigitte, okay? How much health is this Brigitte at? Each bar is 25. 25, 50, 60. Your right-click does 75. This Brigitte, one right-click, she's dead. How low is this Junkrat? 50? 40? One right click, and he's dead. There's no need to freeze these targets. These targets are icicle body shot, and if you're in close range, your icicle melee is 105. So you can do quite a bit of burst to people just with your right click. So you're focusing way too much on freezing, where just a singular accurate, and then we don't even need to be too accurate on these, like especially ones where body shots will kill. There's zero reason to freeze them first. Just a singular right click and they're dead, and move on to the next target. So your time to kill is unnecessarily long because you're not recognizing when you should be freezing and when you should be right clicking. Again, like, the other thing is that if you're putting, like, freeze into somebody who's already frozen, a loss of efficiency again. So there, you were freezing an already frozen Zarya, which is, like, you don't want to stop freezing them too early. Or even if you stop freezing them too early, that's fine if the headshot still lands, because they'll still have the slow applied to them. But, yeah, just, like, if you keep freezing a target that's already frozen, again, a lack of damage, and kind of defeats the purpose of freezing them in the first place.
Our inevitable victory beckons.
My ultimate is charging.
Someone literally just exposed you onto Fran's stream. What do you mean by that? Interesting, Mercy. Brez?
The payload moves with certainty.
I'm on fire.
And like Mei walls like that, they kind of like block off the retreat, but right, you're 1v3 here?
That was well done by the Junkrat. I don't know if he... Let's check. Yeah, he did that and waited.
That could have gone better.
It could have gone better. Tried to 1v3. So it's great if like the walls turn the fight into kind of like 3v2s in your favor or whatnot, but just splitting to team in half and making them 3 here and 3 there when you are alone still isn't very helpful.
I don't think my like mid-fight walls are very good.
They know that Jayne equals stylosis. What? Yeah, so it's obvious that at long range, since your freeze actually can't apply, and I do like that you actually had the, you know,
Let's push.
you were right-clicking the edge of the shield instead of the center of the shield when the Rhino is bubbled, so you can still like apply shield break to a Rhino who's bubbled when you hit the edge of his shield. So I did like that you kind of like readjusted your icicle to the edge of his shield instead of onto him when he was bubbled here, but especially in the mid-range where when you could freeze or right-click, I think you're relying too much on freeze.
Bad wall.
Where did it go? Where did your blizzard go? Did it fall into the cracks?
Come on, let's push. Bad wall.
Say what? Yeah, because there is gaps around the edge. I'm just not sure if there's actually a gap in this location. Oh, it went through that gap. Yeah, okay. Guess you should have known the geometry. Wait, it actually activated down there. I don't even start gaining ult charge. It actually started activating down there. Oh, that's great. I just wasn't sure if there was a gap in this location. So there isn't a death floor for projectiles in this area. Like, look, I'm not gaining ult charge because it activates down there. I feel like that should be patched. I feel like Blizzard should die. Like Snowball should die if it gets environmentaled. That is too funny. I didn't know that. I learned something today, chat. Can you do this on, like, Hanamura? Where's Hanamura? There's Hanamura. I feel like that's actually pretty shitty because you don't start gaining ult charge until Blizzard ends that way. I was wondering why I didn't gain ult charge. That's funny. That's actually kind of really bad. That could hurt you. Like, it could hurt you if you throw Blizzard off of a cliff, but it could still hurt you. Okay. Too funny. I didn't know that that happened on Mei's Blizzard. It does happen. Interesting. Oh, I did not know that.
Where'd it go?
You know what? We just found out. Yeah, unfortunately, your Mei wall won't save you from a Grav Dragon. However, what you can do... Chat, do you know what you can do in that situation? Check Translocator. Wall yourself up. Yeah, you can wall you and yourself above the Grav. So if you are stuck in a Grav, you can wall your... So instead of like trying to like block off the damage, even while in a Graviton, if you like wall underneath you, it'll push you above the Grav. And that can save you. It's not reliable to save everyone in the Grav, but it can save you and whatnot. So yeah, just wall under your feet.
What?
Ba, 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 ba.
Where'd the blizzard go?
Where did
I'm
the blizzard
very
go?
confused.
That is the question. Does the Zarya know? I think you could have landed the right click if you knew the timing better. Trying to find an example, like there's not really many cooldowns themselves you need to dodge. It's unfortunate. I do like that you're kind of like using your ice block to prevent burst damage as well as using it for healing, but unfortunately there's no real example in this of you having to use your ice block and then cancel it in order to dodge cooldowns. Because this ice block was just used to heal. Woo! We did it!
Let's go.
Nice right click. Good freeze. Could wall them off here. Could have walled them to prevent them from touching. Yeah, your walls themselves are getting really low value. I get the feeling that you're just using walls because you have them off cooldown. And, like, people who use stuff because they have things on cooldown...
My accuracy definitely needs to increase.
Yeah, like, you actually need to start using your right clicks if you want to see an accuracy increase or decrease. But it's a trap that a lot of lower players fall into, is that they have cooldowns, so they feel like they should use them. Especially people like Ana. People who play Ana, they'll be like, I've got a sleep dart that I haven't used in a long time. Better use it. And they're just, like, throwing sleep darts at, like, targets 40 meters away and things like this. Just because you have a cooldown doesn't mean you have to use it. There's some cooldowns that should be used every time they come off cooldown, like Mei's damage orb, for example. Or not Mei's damage orb, Moira's damage orb, because it helps farm your ult. But as soon as you've kind of like got your ultimate, you use your orbs a lot more sparingly, because you don't want to feed too much enemy ult charge. You want to save it for situations to keep yourself alive, your team alive, clutch kills, 1v1s, things like that. So people who use their cooldowns just because they have them, never have them when they actually need them. So Mei's wall here is just getting so little value, and you are spending a lot of brain power in actually placing them, like trying to get, like so you're in the situation where you want to use the wall, so you're kind of like, you select the wall, and then you like look around trying to find any opportunity, and you're like, no value, no value, no value, no value, and then there's like a situation where it's like, the value that you get is like 1 out of 10. So you're like, finally some value, and then you place the wall. 3 seconds later, a 10 out of 10 value situation arises, and you don't have your wall on cooldown. So save your cooldowns.
Our world is worth fighting for.
I don't know if I need to be putting out more damage.
Did you see the stat over the entire RWL season? Jonak has 3rd most damage in the entire league. Yes, but that's not per anything. And Jonak was a perma starter. So, like, yes, he does a lot of damage, but that stat isn't exactly relevant. That's what we call headline stats. Those are the kind of stats that you put in a headline, but you never put in a paper.
Weird composition. We have.
I did see the Australian World Cup roster, yes.
What the fuck is this?
Are you saying I shouldn't throw my Ana nades at Ryan Shields? Yes. Just because you have Dragon Blade doesn't mean you should go and try and 1v6 after your team died. Like, that's a very obvious example, but yes, you're correct. VOD reviews are sub only, yes. Is the Canadian World Cup roster ready? No, unfortunately not.
This is kind of bad.
So 55 seconds left, eh?
Look, I just want to play some Mei.
Ooh, they've got a Mei of their own. I didn't see that. It's hard to tell. And good thing being you're the only one who was caught out here. You've got a sim. Headshot, thank you. You can take that Mei out. Ooh, that's not good. You just disengaged from the
Much
Mei.
better. Oh, she went through! I thought that wall completely blocked her off.
Unfortunate. Like, again, with, like, yeah. Yeah. Good. Oh, huge! They have Blizzard, though. It's overtime. Your
That
team
was
was already staggered. At the very end, you didn't do anything like dramatically wrong or anything that I'd consider a major flaw. So I don't think that anything you could have done there individually, other than, I suppose, not having just like ignored the Mei who came back and froze you. Other than that, the rest of it was
Okay, we're gonna.
in the good enough category, I guess, and not something that, at least at this elo, I'd harp on. Blocked, like, you blocked the Diva Bomb, you blocked the Ryan Shatter, you froze and killed the Mercy. You lost, but you did good things there.
This turret is not gonna be like last time where I attempted to get some poke damage in first. I'm just gonna go straight for point protection because we have like 4.
Oh yeah, it's very. Like, I agree with you, Flyer. The main, I suppose, issue with this guy is that I think, like, I put out a call for off-meta heroes, and I didn't really mean that, hey, Tracer mains, you can get a VOD review if you just play Torb one game. I was kind of like hoping the people who actually played Torb and Mei a shit ton would submit VODs. So it's very clear that this guy's main issue is going to be practice on these heroes. Like, he's not comfortable with his abilities or kind of like some of the play styles. And people who start out always do this like same sort of thing where they, you know, play safer with their team and just kind of like aim their abilities in the general direction of the red team without any sort of plan or strategy or anything like this. So it's very, very clear that this guy's Problem is inexperience and lack of practice with the character's abilities, but such is life.
4 minutes to hold.
You've never seen a
And
Pharah
yeah.
review of yours? There's actually a pretty good one on YouTube.
1 shot for a draw.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Such potential. Let's do this.
I think I have to get this further out.
I foresee great things for you.
Unfortunately, you can't place turret on top of your other turret. You need to place it somewhere else, then set it back. And this is actually a pretty decent place for a turret. It's fine to have it in this window or the window on the left, but yeah, this is a decent enough place for a turret. This works. Again, no LOS to the initial choke, so people can't take it out before they get to the point. But problem is that this is gold, and your team is holding it a choke where your turret can't see it. So this turret would be good, at least better, I suppose, if it was on a choke again, so that it could get value before the fight. But at this point in time, with you guys holding the actual choke here, by the time the opponent get onto the point, it's going to be because they already killed your team, and then your turret's not going to get value. So it's kind of like the same situation where if you are some sort of like high ground character like Soldier, the optimal position in a vacuum, for example, so the optimal position in like an empty custom game is not going to be the optimal position when there's actually people in the game here. So it'd be much better if your turret was in like a less quote unquote perfect location, if it could still contribute value to this fight at the choke, because that's where your team is. Your team is not holding on the point, so your turret isn't useful there.
Aggressive of a hold.
So yeah, like they've moved on to the point here, but they've moved on the point because 3 of you died. And now they've got chain healing from Valkyrie, and there's not much that your turret's
I
going to
don't
be
know
able
what
to
my
do.
turret's shooting at, but I'm amazed it hasn't killed anything yet.
Well, it actually is on to the nanoed monkey who also had a bubble. So, yeah, I think it was just by chance or by fact that monkey engaged first, but monkey drew the aggro of your turret, right? Because turret will shoot whatever enters its line of sight first and will not swap to a different target unless it breaks LOS or LOS is broken with the target it was initially shooting. So, I'm pretty sure it was 100% on accident, but the monkey drew the aggro of the turret, he bubbled, and he got nanoed. So he just tanked the molten core, the entire thing, by himself.
I'll say that's a fair loss.
Yeah, it's your fault too. But, however, interesting game to play. Let's go back to King's Row. So we've talked about... We put that one very much on your... Like, there's unwinnable games, there's unlosable games, and then there's games that were your fault. And we're going to put that solidly in that category. Like, there's a difference between ranked and 6v6. If you want people to swap and flex and build perfect team comps or whatnot, you're playing the wrong mode. Okay, I almost... anyway. So. Let's talk about turret locations. This is a really good spot for an initial turret placement. You can do something like this. And I like this sort of location for... I have the worst Torb skin on right now. I need to change that. Anyway, so this is a pretty good starting turret location because they can't see it. They won't see it walking out of the spawn themselves. But then you want a really good location to be when they're about to cross the choke to fight you, the turret at the last moment actually starts shooting them. So this sort of like crossfire where the turret behind them isn't noticed until they're actually being pressured from the front is kind of the situation that you always want to set up. So this is like a really good initial turret. But the question is, where would you actually set up your turret on Kings afterwards? So assuming that your team is not holding at the choke, because honestly, if you're holding the choke, you're basically throwing already. Let's, What do you think about this location? So I'm just going to drop down a couple turret locations. I'm going to talk about each one, and then you're going to vote on which turret location you think is the best. So I'm going to consider this turret location A. It satisfies the criteria of that the choke cannot see it. So people left and right of statue can get shot at it. It can still see the choke. So this is going to be turret location A. This is going to be turret location B, right here. So this one, you know, it can be seen from the choke, but it's a little bit farther back. It has a little nice sight of here. Let's go with turret location C. So this one's a bit better. It can't see the choke. You can see a bit into hotel, left side of statue, onto the point itself. That's better. What about this one? This one's still pretty decent. Can see onto the point and whatnot. Can see into the actual building, a little bit into alley, something like that. What about this position? So those are your 4 options. Those are your 4 options. So which turret location? Which turret location? A, B, C, D, somewhere not on the high ground. Those are your options. A, B, C, D, or somewhere not on the high ground. What about the little ledge down of spot C? Oh, like here? I guess you could, I guess. Kinda. In spawn, because you're throwing already? You said that they aren't holding a choke? Yeah, because on King's Row, you don't want to be holding a choke in the first place. Holding a choke is... like, the best place to hold on in King's Row is basically in this location. So, you want to hold here, so that whether they push from choke to you, you have the sideline, and if they rotate around the left side of statue, you can just kind of, like, rotate. So, normally, your Reinhardt plays around these 2 pillars on hotel. So, what do you guys think? C. You guys think C is the correct answer? I'm going to give you an alternate. I'm going to give you an alternate. What about this spot? Sightlines to hotel, early warning. Sightlines to alley, early warning. Sightline through halls, early warning. No sight of choke. Can contest the point, as well as the high grounds. 2 exposed from hotel. So the thing isn't that it is exposed from hotel, is that turret can also act like an early warning system in the same way that Junkrat Trap can. So Junkrat Trap can ensure that you either trap individuals flanking or give early warning of a rotation from the opponent. So I actually really like this turret location. I really like this turret location. And you can always switch your turret location during the middle of a fight. Your turret, you can't expect that your turret actually survives a fight. So you're going to be up, you're going to be contributing and whatnot, and if your turret destroys, you can just, you know, throw another one down wherever you want and keep fighting. But I really, honestly, like turret locations like this that have a lot of different sightlines and can warn you about flankers. The other thing about, like, this specific turret location right here is that, think about how it actually protects your supports. If you have an Ana or a Zenyatta or something like that, and then, or let's just say that you have a Zenyatta here, like if you're playing Zenyatta Moira, let's see that, like, you have got Zenyatta Moira because you're playing ranked and comp doesn't matter, right? Team composition doesn't matter. If your Zen is sitting back in the alley or something, or here, because your Moira has to be farther up to the tanks, the turret can basically act as a zoning tool against flankers and divers and whatnot, and help your Zenyatta win the 1v1 and give your like the rest of your supports a safer place to actually sit. So there's a lot of benefits to having your turret in locations like this. You don't need the fancy high grounds or anything like that. I like locations like this for Torbjorn. What can be done in order to not depend on the turret's damage as Torbjorn? So one of the main things is basically don't try and set your turret up if it's ever taking damage. Like, get it up in one location where it's going to get value, but doesn't require you to, like, you know, if your turret is in this location and then it gets destroyed, don't try and, like, go inside to go up and build your turret. Have your turret in a location, and, you know, your positioning will probably change with it depending on if it has molten core. Make sure that you are switching its location so that people always have to be scouting for it, and they don't, like, if you keep setting your turret up in the same location over and over and over and over again, then people can come up with a path and a plan to actually deal with the turret. But if it's in a different location each and every time, people are going to be thrown off. They're going to have to put it, like, resources into actually looking and scouting for the turret itself first. And then if it's destroyed, instead of trying to remove yourself from the fight in order to place it and start, you know, building another one like that, just keep fighting, place the level 1, have the level 1 as a distraction, but like, keep contributing with your left, right clicks and providing armor to people. Stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. On what map do you go for a spawn turret for ult charge? Any that you can, really. So all hybrid maps are good. 2 CP maps you can, depending on which one it is. So hybrids and assaults for early ult charge.